It is the most powerful thing around at the moment. It's also the way that you can get yourself in the most trouble as well. You slap AI on it and it's a magic solution.
I think there's some that believe that tech's a panacea for all ills in a business.
There's so many things within property management that shouldn't use AI. I think a lot of people are using AI when they don't need to. So that leads to a hell of a lot higher spend and budget blowouts. I think there's going to be a worldwide cyber incident. I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but I guarantee in the next 6 to 18 months, that will happen.
You're listening to the Property Management Excellence Podcast for insights that drive rapid rental growth.
Welcome back. Great to have you with us again. I'm Alex Whitlock. I'm the co-founder of Managed, director of REB. This is the PMX podcast. Thought we'd have a chat about tech this week, the fascinating subject of tech. I'm a bit unusual. I'm a founder of a tech business and I don't like tech. Isn't that strange? You might wonder why I've been involved in technology and creating technology for the property management industry. And it's one of the key reasons is I believe that I have a very fundamental belief that I'm a chap of average intelligence. And so I have an average threshold where technology is an enabler for me. And then it also tips me over the edge. And I think that there is an opportunity to build technology that's more intuitive, that's built for people like me that are just regular punters. And I think often tech can be built by very smart people that don't necessarily understand that the people they're building it for are not wired the same way. I thought I'd bring a guest onto the podcast who is not an expert necessarily in the field of property management, though he does know. He has got some pretty good insights from a tech perspective, but somebody who I've known for a long, long time, who has been building technology, has been a partner of ours at a momentum level for many years. So I brought on the podcast Blair Dods. He's the head of AI and technology.
Correct, head of technology
and engineering.
AI. Yeah,
technology and AI. But look, Blair, before I ramble through and give you a very bad intro, it'd be good to give a bit of insight into, I guess, what you were doing prior to. You've been with us for
13 years now. Yeah.
Exactly. So a little bit about your journey, your relationship with technology, and then a little bit of insight as to what you do on the day-to-day at Momentum Markets.
Sure, yeah. Well, I first started, I've been quite lucky in my career. I started in the late 90s and purely involved on the digital side, working for tech companies. So I was lucky enough to experience the first wave when the internet was just sort of taking hold. Went through the first .com bust, which was quite interesting. Working in London at the time, and just every single company, every day another company would go bust. So we just survived that. Then I came back to New Zealand and then worked across a number of media businesses in New Zealand, and then experienced the year of mobile, which happened every year for 10 years until the iPhone came along. So once again, there's another fascinating period that was just huge change. And then from there, the social media area and the things that changed there as well, how people connect with technology. And that was about the time, probably a couple of years after that, then I then came to Momentum. And since then, things haven't changed too much. We've had the same sort of web platforms. And then a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we had the earliest iterations of ChatGPT, which everyone got excited about, but it was more of a toy. Everyone was using ChatGPT, just putting in, saying, wow, it's amazing. I could string sentences together. Everyone was blown away. But I feel now, in the last couple of years especially, all that's come together. It's just absolutely crazy, the pace of that.
So back, I was working in the media journalism side of the business back then, and you were very quick out of the blocks building AI capabilities for the business. So this was essentially around journalism and sort of creating faster, more efficient outputs for journos. But of course, ChatGPT, even back then, didn't just replace journalism. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, exactly. In those earlier days, we did view it more as a co-pilot because that's what it was best at. But things have just changed rapidly. Every day now, every week, there's new models, there's new tools, there's new ways of using the models, how they interact. So it's just evolved so much. I've never, ever seen a rate of change like it. It'd be a full-time job to keep up with the rate of everything that's happening in AI. I spend my weekends looking. I love it. We're the opposite, but I think it's why we work well together. I love tech. I'm at that sort of nerdier level. You're at the other end. We meet in the middle, and I think that's why it works well.
So don't get me wrong. I believe very strongly in tech, but I'm not a connoisseur of tech. I like simple functionality with technology. And something I want to get into in the podcast that's very close to me is I think there's some that believe that tech's a panacea for all ills in a business. You can have a tech magic wand, you can roll out Gandalf and tech will solve all problems. And particularly in property management, I can see in most of the businesses inefficiencies, a lack of focus, a lack of leadership from the top, and punters working in property management business that do the best that they can do. So bringing technology in where you don't have the basis to enhance systems, customer relations, mindset and vision, I think is very misguided. But a lot of people think that tech is going to solve their problems.
Exactly. You slap AI on it and it's a magic solution and you're overcharged a lot of the time. It is quite crazy in terms of the number of mistakes people are making on a day-to-day basis with AI. It is the most powerful thing around at the moment. It's also the way that you can get yourself in the most trouble as well. You can
Such
overspend.
a throwaway term though, isn't it? You see it everywhere. And managed, we don't have AI tools.
No,
because
it's just part of underneath the surface. The end user shouldn't see it.
It's such a cheap way to try and personally I think it's a cheap and largely misleading way to have your customers or would-be customers believe that you're offering something that is going to give them some sort of advantage, and I just don't see it that way. AI is very important, however, for you. So you work at a markets level, but you also filter down and lead the engineering team in Manage, and you've been doing that now for
2 years now.
Yeah,
with Manage specifically.
So just on the focus of AI, and again, this is not about building AI tools for Manage. This is using AI to build tech faster. Tell me what you've seen and how you deploy AI to build a better platform.
Yeah, we can go deep on the engineering side, but I think you got to go right back to the start of how ideas are generated. And like we talk probably every morning for probably 30 or 40 minutes. We've great conversations. It's fast moving. There's a lot of ideas. You're an ideas machine, which is great. I try and process it, but honest confession, there's no way I could keep up. If it wasn't for AI, I could not process all the things we talk about. We context switch. We're talking about management. We're talking about momentum, different ideas here and there. Without AI, half of that would be lost. So as you know, because it's privacy permission, you got permission. I record all our calls on Granola. After our call, it automatically feeds into my Hermes agent that's on a Mac Mini. From there, it gets the transcript, and then it feeds all the action points into Linear, which is a project management system. All the different strategy docs for the different businesses and different ideas, they're automatically updated as well. And then it holds me accountable in terms of chases me if I haven't addressed those. And that would take me a day manually to do all those things. And now I can just do it after a 40-minute conversation. The amount of value that's created in those conversations, it's not lost. And AI that's been the number one game changer for me. Those automations.
And this is what I want to nail down into, because I think it's so easy to be a self-appointed AI guru, and there's many of them around saying, hey, agents, you too, can master AI. But the reality is you're working with highly skilled coders, engineers, who you're having to teach at a sophisticated level how to engage with AI tools. How hard is it to train tech people to use AI properly?
Technically, they've got the skills, they can do it easily. It's just more about that mind shift. It's like you're telling an artist he can't paint anymore, you use the brushes. Because that's what they love. They became a coder. They love it. That's what they do. But the world's changing and it is hard. So it's really a fine balancing act. You don't want to, because we want to empower. We use AI to empower the developers. It's not to replace them. It's just to actually make them more
as a tool,
better at their job. As a tool,
Doesn't do things for them,
No, they've got to use a judgment. They've got to have the taste. They've got to know. They've got to be the final say. So they can automate a lot of the admin tasks within development. It's really great for reviewing code, for generating the documentation around it, etc. So it's fantastic. But the model is getting more and more powerful every day. So it is having a wider effect on the actual code generation itself too. Like GitHub, for example, That's where all the code repositories live, where people host all their code. 50% of the code on GitHub now is AI generated, but 46% of that code has security vulnerabilities. You do the math on that, it's absolutely terrifying. We've seen so many security in the last, every month now, there's more and more. I think it's 3 and March, and then 6, and then 15. So it's almost doubling every month, these major things that are happening. I think there's going to be a worldwide cyber incident. I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but I guarantee in the next 6 to 18 months, that'll happen. And it's a very good chance it'll happen some vibe code, some package, someone snuck something in that's infected millions of platforms, apps, and it's just, it's terrifying, and people are not taking that seriously enough. So you've got to really educate at the security level as well.
We're going to take a break. We'll take a quick break there, Blair. When we come back, I'd like to continue the chat. I'd like to focus maybe in the next section about how we're going to see in real estate people harnessing vibe coding to use internally for their systems, where that may start and finish. And there's going to be two elements to this. One of them is how practical and easy it is to do. The second thing is it really worth doing? Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Great to have you with us. I have Blair Dods with me, something of a Gandalf in the tech and AI world, not just because of the white hair.
Is that good or bad?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I see colleagues, friends who are doing some quite cool things with vibe coding. And obviously you've used the tools. Claude, I believe, is leading the way in providing tools to everyone really now. The premise is that you don't have to be a coder now to code. And there's going to be people tuning in across real estate who will be looking at and maybe already building their own tech. In fact, fairly recently, one of the managed customers, Oz Realty, launched their own proprietary, essentially sales tech, very significant. But there are going to be others, and what I want to sort of tap into with you, Blair, is, so you're familiar with the in the PM marketplace. You're familiar with Managed, and you're also familiar with its peers.
Correct.
Managed being different from most other platforms because of its payments technology. It's not just workflows and automation and tasks and maintenance and so forth, compliance. It is built slightly differently. But going back, so when we started building Manage 8-9 years ago, the investment into building a tech stack like that was ridiculous and significant. And we know from others in the marketplace that have either openly or quietly sort of revealed how many tens of millions of dollars they've spent because it's an expensive business building tech. The capabilities now through the technology delivered by any of the major LMMs is just mind-blowing. So what I want to dive into with you is for PMs, for principals, what is the real scope for them to start building proprietary tech? Now, I want to break this into two parts, Blair. One of them is the scope in terms of being able to do it using the AI tools that are around or using consultancies to help build it in a bespoke way. The second part of it is the dangers and vulnerabilities of building your own tech.
Yes, definitely. Well, there's, like you said, there's two ways to do it. If you've got the technical skills in-house, definitely 100% always better, I think, than getting a consultant in 100%. There is the biggest thing with AI, especially I think with the consultants, they sell it as AI, but it's largely automation. It's code. It's code you write once. There's so many things within property management that shouldn't use AI. It should be automation. It should be a bit of code you write once. But they sell it as AI, so every result can be different when it doesn't need to be, like rents coming in, processing all the reporting, all that side of it. That should never be AI. Maybe the analysis of it, sure, but not the actual, the processing of that data. So I think a lot of people are using AI when they don't need to. So that leads to a hell of a lot higher spend and budget blowouts, and there's just no need for it. It should be you pay once and use forever pretty much, apart from the upgrades. And with that too is obviously, like you mentioned on the vibe coding, the number one risk there is the security, especially with the personally identifiable information that PM agencies rely on to do their jobs. A lot of the people now, they forget or they don't have the awareness. They paste that data into an agent every day without thinking about it. And that's a huge compliance issue. It's illegal. People just don't really think about that. So you need to really have that training if you are going to do it in-house, and make sure the people are completely au fait. And especially with every man his dog now, you'd probably be surprised if you went into your tools, like, for example, your Google admin. It would show you all the apps you've signed up to over the years that you've forgotten about that you've used Google to log into. That's brought down quite a few big companies recently. So it might be a vibe-coded app someone's done, you've logged into it, they get hacked, your data's attached to that, and it's gone. So there's just so many things on that security level that before you do anything, that needs to be in place before you get going yourself.
And data, you touch on one of the biggest areas of value for in any business really is data and analysis of, and storage of, and quality of.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there are a lot of principles, and there will also be those within networks that have looked and explored, and some very smart people. Some people are very, very sharp on tech. I know people personally in many of the networks that are very switched on. How long do you think it'll be before networks start building proprietary tech? Do you think that in simple terms, and on the PM side, like trust accounting software, it's not complicated?
Yeah, it's not for that sort of thing. If you're handling the payments yourself or anything compliance related and needing to actually adhere to the letter of the law, each state, all the different, so anything related to payments, I think it's a very dangerous slippery slope to go down doing proprietary tech. You want to rely on an external platform that handles that. Like, for example, manages obviously a payments business, the amount of work that goes into that.
I mean, ours is different because we are not for every agency.
No,
we're for the minority,
exactly.
Because of the tech that we've built and developed is very specific, and it is really for what we call next-gen agencies and fast-growing agencies, and that is really a very small percentage of Australian agencies. Yep. Our customers are taking ground away from the incumbents. That's the tech that we're building, and we're building it for a particular breed of agencies, and we bring across established agencies, and we've got some very large agencies that have grown and built with us, but we're really about empowering the few. But for the many, most agencies wouldn't look at managed.
No. And in terms of the opportunity for all of those agencies, I wouldn't say it's proprietary PM tech itself. It would be replacing existing SaaS subscription they have. Every business now, you could have 10, 20, 30 different SaaS subscriptions you subscribe to. And a lot of those are very basic tech that you can, if done correctly, taking adherence to good security practices, that you can replace and just wipe out that monthly cost, which over the course of a year or two can be tens of thousands of dollars. Easy for a small business. That's quite significant. But the number one thing I think is similar to the workflow that I mentioned before around getting that context of business data for every conversation we have. The system that I have using the Hermes agent, it learns from itself. So you build up that internal knowledge, internal company brain. I think that's the biggest opportunity for any business. That's where the most value is going to come from for an agency before they go into any other specific proprietary tech. It's around getting those operating systems in place first.
I think it's very tempting with just the advancements in tools to build tech to go, well, we'll do it ourselves.
Oh, and it's good fun.
Yeah.
I waste too much. Every week I probably 5 hours. I think, shit, it's good fun doing this, and then you realise it's never going to launch, it's never going to do anything.
Yeah, well, and I'm the worst. So I go, Blair, I've got an idea, and you go away and build it, and you build it lightning fast. Yeah. But this is a reality. This is a human condition, right? Because now everyone's liberated to have ideas, and people a bit smarter than me, but not as smart as you, can go away and vibe code and actually, because I've never vibe coded anything, I'd steer well clear, but you do it very quickly. But it's a really interesting situation where you end up kind of getting great outcomes with AI and feeling good, and then you don't do anything with it, or you use it a bit and then you stop using it. And I think there's a real danger in business, whether it's on an individual basis or a corporate basis, of getting bogged down in AI solutions that don't actually have any end product.
Exactly. People aren't putting that rigor into because it's so easy, they just miss that whole step. of actually putting some rigor into, is this idea actually going to work, and doing the work they used to before they get started. Because there used to be a lot more effort involved, you think, right, I don't want to bloody spend all this time, I think it's going to be a waste. But now you go, it's going to take me an hour or two, and you end up spending 5 hours on it. And you realise it's not going to. So you still need to, everyone needs to step back a bit and just go back to those old school fundamentals of actually making sure, doing that hard work first before they get into the building.
And even with vibe coding, people can still build bad tech.
Oh yeah,
99%
of it is. Yeah, it's bad tech.
Just because it's AI-driven vibe coded technology, the infrastructure and the instructions and considering what the outputs are going to be, if they're not fundamentally sound, you're going to build tech very quickly that looks good, but doesn't necessarily functionally do what you're maybe looking for it to do or what you maybe expect it to do.
Oh, exactly. You've got to have the right product sense from the start. I'd say 95% are just, they look good and you get that initial hit because it looks good and you think, well, I've created something amazing. But like you said, after a while, you suddenly realise.
What was the first thing that you built for Momentum Markets? You built various things, internal systems. Can you think of what was the first thing you built for us?
Specifically AI focused?
Not necessarily AI. No, just tech.
A while back. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably,
I'm not talking about our websites.
No.
Some internal systems.
It would have been all around the reporting side, I believe. So reporting dashboard. So it was a back in the day, trying to stitch everything together from all the different data sources, just so we had that consistent source of truth. So, and that was a huge project that never really got finished. So actually we've relaunched that in the last year, and it ended up taking 2 weeks versus the year just because at the start, just purely the technology. Yeah. And plus because of we'd spent the time over the years building our data warehouse, so we had all the data. It was all there now, and now it was a good timing with AI. We're actually able to pull that data in and put it to good effect.
I'm going to chop in actually just for a second talking about data. So with the work that you do with Managed, the data that we have in there is fairly unique. What opportunities do you see looking at that data to create meaningful reports and so forth for either for our customers or for the broader industry?
Oh, exactly. The huge amount of data we have in there going back like 7-8 years now is just amazing. When you're talking about rental payments, transactions, there's so many different trends you can identify happening over years, by region, by suburb, volumes, the movements of rent, arrears. It's 100% untapped, and we can feed information back to help our agencies, and we are working on that at the moment.
So this is where I sort of end with technology and start with business, because I believe that your technology should empower you to do things faster and more accurately. But then what do you do? So you save some time, or you'll need fewer people to do a certain task. But then what do you do with that saving? Do you just take half a day off? For me, it's about, I think you've got to know why you want to save time and how you want to apply that additional time to add value to the business. And I think the biggest missed opportunity in property management comes from the principals that run the business. Is I don't think they really understand their customer or where they want to take the business. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I think there's a lot that will go, I want to cut costs and I want to save time, but then how do you utilize that time more effectively elsewhere? And I think that through technology, I think there's opportunities to create. Where do I start with this? It probably begins for me with a complete facelift on the proposition of property management. It is treated largely universally, with the exception of some outstanding businesses. I won't name them all now, but there are a number that put property management first. But I think on the whole, it's seen as a stepping stone into another area of real estate. And I think, and that's the fault of the principal, because the principal determines the culture in the business. You can't expect the people who work in the business to frame and to drive culture. So I think that I think there needs to be, I don't know where this starts and finishes, there needs to be a reshaping and a new proposition around property management. Part of that will be driven through technology, making it a more appealing job. It's still going to be a tough job, but I think the real opportunity is a greater focus on the customer. And I think through a greater focus on the customer, and that doesn't mean fixing things and mending things and getting new tenants in, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about engaging very closely with the customer, and driving value to that customer.
Helping them be more successful,
So I think that there needs to be, I feel very strongly, and I can see things coming for this industry that are going to disrupt, and it isn't going to be technology. It's going to be thinking, systems, and people who've got a really good scope of the value opportunities, take market share through giving a better customer proposition. We'll take a break there, and when we come back, it would be remiss of me not to let you go away with a few hacks and a few easy things that you can give to people to maybe get some quick AI wins. But we'll have a look at that in the last section. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Great to have you with us, Blair Dods, Alex Whitlock. Meandering our way through AI, technology, and the future of property management. All of things we care about a great deal, particularly the future of property management. The longer that I work and try and provide product for the industry, I've been a customer of the industry for 30 years, the more opportunity I see. And the more, I'm not going to start playing a violin for all of those that work in property management that aren't recognised. I think let's look forward today. Every principal has the opportunity to move forward, to offer, to understand the value of what they deliver in terms of a property management service, to understand the customer and what they expect from a property manager. And I think most owners don't know what to expect, particularly first-time investors. It's the first time they bought a property. They don't know anything about it. They've got no idea what they've let themselves in for. They've got no idea what a property manager's going to do. Somebody's going to go, oh yeah, you need a property manager, because I would never dream of self-managing. They don't know what a property manager does. So many property managers just start on the wrong foot. They do it so badly. They don't educate the owner the right way at the point of entry, and then you end up with a awkward relationship in many cases where the owner doesn't value what the PM does. The PM, gets a hard time and gets pushed around. Some owners can be incredibly rude to their agencies who work extremely hard, and most PM operations do work very, very hard. The problem is if the owner doesn't value the hard work, the owner might have one set of things that they think they value, and the PM might have another set of things that they think are of value. And if those two don't align, then you've got a bit of a problem. So I think that looking forward, there is the scope with the right mindset and systems to go, to build very lucrative, very valuable, and very engaged PM businesses. And technology is going to be, it's going to play a part in that, but it's not going to do it overnight. We've seen tech platforms come in that are going to transform, property management and get rid of property management. And I think that, PM in its purest sense as a value proposition to an owner will be immovable. And in fact, I believe that those businesses will scale, and they will scale quickly, and they will soak up market share. And I think you'll probably have fewer, larger, better run, more focused agencies. And I think it'll be harder to run smaller, don't really know why I'm doing it type of property management operations. But look, that's what I believe. That's what I see with those that are on our platform. Like I say, we're not for all. But we do power fast-growing and dynamic agencies. So I'd like to just get some, I'm going to go back to AI because it is a tool and it is around us and it is something which is valuable. It's something that you can get caught out. I regularly or occasionally now get caught out with AI telling me exactly what it thinks I want to hear, and I have to coach it because I do use it quite a fair bit to create content. Blair, it'd be good if you could give just for your average AI person who is using AI a bit, maybe wants to use it a bit more. I want you just a few takeaways, practical, that punters, how can they get the best out of AI just in sort of the day-to-day use of it? Yeah,
definitely. Well, the number one thing is start now. If you haven't, you have to start because it's all about your data, your context, your history. So the more information it has, it's not just about crafting a prompt and expecting magic. You need to have that context. So, for example, my setup, it has all my meetings in the last few years. It has all the other business context related to it. It feeds into different data lakes we have, and it pulls all that information in together. So it knows already, it's got this brain that's compounding over time. So you really need that.
So how do you train it? How do you get it to do that for you in simple terms?
In simple terms, I feed in, I've got the historical context, and then like I mentioned before, I use Granola, a tool that records meetings automatically, connects up. So then there's an audio file that's transcribed into text. So that then joins the library. So there's different folders that have all the memories. It has the sessions. It has sort of the master doc, really, the brain behind it all that connects everything up. And they're all just really basic text files, just markdown files that contain this information. But it's like you use a good harness that encapsulates that. You can feed a lot of models into that and get a similar result. So it's not so much about the model itself, it's about the data you're using, you're feeding that, and the what's compounded over time from having that data. So the number one thing is just get started now, look at your sources, see where that data lives, what can you, given privacy reasons, you can't just go whacking in everyone's personal data, but for all intents and purposes, what is valid, chuck it in there, different formats, and just get that structure in place first. And if you're lost and you don't know what to do, chat to Claude, and take yourself through it. It'll take you through it. It just knows exactly. It's got all the information to help you through every step. Break it down, explain it to me like a 10-year-old, and it will take you through it. Alex, you could get set up tomorrow. 100% certain you'd be an expert in a day. Then you're in your life.
And I could be an AI master too.
Exactly.
I do use. I don't actually use Claude. I've just used ChatGPT. Interesting at the in the threshold of ChatGPT going, it's with his IPO along with our friend Elon Musk for SpaceX and anyway, talking about the world's first trillionaire.
It's the
model race. It's not going to be you or me.
Maybe if we get the right vibe coded app, we could be there. The models are every week it changes. What models are ahead?
Tell me which models that you use. Tell me how many different models you use.
This is important. I was guilty of it at the start. Some of our bills, some months were tokens. That's what you charged on through the subscriptions, like Claude. We're hitting maybe $2,000 a month in token bills for all the different work we're doing. But now we use probably 10 different models for the different tasks that we do, whether it's coding, whether it's the agent running itself, whether it's processing the transcriptions. There's a specific model that we've identified for each task. So that's saved us 95%. So now we're down to $100.
For agencies that are looking to maybe use AI for their marketing, maybe using it to create some simple sort of time-saving tasks, using it for content. Are all LLMs equal, or is what are the attributes of the main ones?
Well, the main frontier models such as GPT 5.5, Claude Opus 4.7, they're definitely the leaders. Gemini's just released a few more models, and those are always going to be the top. But now you've got another level of freely available open source models as well, or they have a paid
Are they built off the back of the LLMs? Are they like extensions of the LLMs, or are they their own independent?
No, their own independent.
Yeah, right.
All the best ones are all Chinese. So you got DeepSeek, you got Quinn, and
people
been around
for a while.
People
a little bit
freak
suspicious
out.
of DeepSeek.
They're worried about
all good.
the data.
All safe.
Well, it's just the US models are just as dodgy in my own, the way that what they've trained the data on and security. And the beauty of it with the open source models is you can host those yourself.
Yeah.
If you've got enough processing power. So for sensitive data, it's never going to leave. It's never going to be connected to the internet to process with it, and it's free apart from the investment in the hardware.
So what would you recommend people steer clear of, if anything? Are there any areas that you would be concerned about using AI as an overlay for data, or are there any areas that you think you might create vulnerabilities?
Definitely. I'd never ever be. A lot of people make a big mistake of pasting their keys, especially the vibe coders. They share their keys, API keys, so they get out, they get leaked, and then all of a sudden you got bills for thousands of dollars in token costs. But in terms of the actual individual for a PM agency, it all depends on what use case. Financial data, company data, sensitive data. There's no way I'd be connecting that up to a LLM. It's hosted somewhere else. There's just too much risk there. You can obviously opt out that the models won't train on that data, but it's always going to be better if you can invest in the hardware to keep that locally, so it's completely firewalled off. It can't be accessed, but you get the benefits of using AI and running your models yourself, and you're just paying for the power of that, really. So I definitely, once again, you don't just do a one size fits all. You really need to choose your, whether it's on the cloud somewhere, on the local, and then look at the actual use case you're trying to solve for. But for marketing, definitely like Claude, Opus 4.7, you're going to get the best result for sure. But if you're just giving it a generic prompt and asking for a result, it'll be very similar across those frontier models. And then it comes down to having that context, having that historic data, and how solid that is, and how you feed that into it, that you'll actually give you that'll be the differentiator in terms of the performance of that.
And I know you're a great consumer of content, and you're constantly learning. It would be good if you could just give us a couple of podcasts that you listen to, or maybe some easy to digest if people want to get a little bit more accustomed to how to utilize AI and technology to understand maybe what's going on, because it is fascinating to see what's happening, frightening. Could you recommend, what are some of the podcasts that you find valuable and interesting that most people would be able to understand and digest?
For daily podcasts, daily AI brief, I find that very valuable. You put me onto that one. See, I'm learning from the expert.
I think I know about these things.
And then it's got a good snapshot and goes into a sort of more strategic opinion piece every day, which is great because it covers all the main highlights. But for most of my AI-related content, as much as I dislike Elon Musk, I use Twitter. I'm not going to call it X, but traditionalist. So that is the number one place to get all the latest changes. Everyone posts all the latest news, all the major AI influencers, the people who are actually experts and give away all their intel for free are on X/Twitter. So that's my go-to. And it's one of those things, there is, as we mentioned before, it's changing so much. There is so much valuable, it's so interesting, you can spend too much time doing that. So when I wake up in the morning, when I go, it's bad. I probably spend 10 times more time than I should doing it.
Blair, it's been a pleasure. We chat every day, but I thought it'd be good to give people a snapshot.
It's a different environment. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
It's been a good chat.
For everyone else, thanks for tuning in. Love having you with us. Really appreciate the support that you've shown for PMX. Tell us what you think. You may like what I say, you may not like what I say, but certainly give me your feedback. We'll catch you next week.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.